757 House Whisperer Show. Brought to you by Worley's Home Services. Chuck is on assignment tonight, so he won't be here, but he's got a key member of his team on the show with us tonight. I'm Michael Davenport. I am one of the partners at CVP Windows and Doors. We are the only door window manufacturer in the Hampton Roads area. We service everything from Eastern Shore up through the Northern Neck into Richmond and down into Northern North Carolina. Worley's Home Services brought to this show tonight, and Chuck has been in the plumbing and heating business for quite some time. Started out in HVAC, but they do plumbing, heating. They do electrical. They do crawl space encapsulation. They do foam, and they do regular insulation. They do it all. Chuck will tell you that houses talk to him. And what they're not saying to him, they're saying the balance of the rest of us on this show. I'd like for you to get to your phone. Give us a call at 757-627-7979. Again, that is 757-627-7979. The lines are open now. We're going to have a couple of trivia questions that are going to keep you going. And we've got some interesting topics we're going to do tonight. We'll turn it over now to Albin, and he's going to bring his company in and another folk on the part.
Hey, my name is Albin with Albin Co. We specialize in bath remodels, kitchen remodels, and we do additions and renovations. And we love building stuff. So also like to introduce Cindy with Alpha Pest Solutions. She is not here tonight, but we're going to represent her and tell you all kinds of cool things about her. She is the only woman with the license to kill. She'll crawl around up underneath that house and find out what's going on, whether it be you got critters that are underneath there or bugs, or you got something going on with maybe too much moisture. She can figure out. She's got tools that can, figure out all that stuff. And she's got a great eye for that to see whether or not the mold underneath the house is good or not. I mean, not that you'd have good mold, but not the really bad mold, I guess. None of it's good, but there can be some really bad stuff. Others. Yeah, there you go. That was put well. So anyways, Cindy with Alpha Pest Solutions. Before we move on to the next ones, we'd like to start putting those trivia questions out there for those that are waiting to call in. Again, that number is 757-627-7979. And one of the questions we had was, when do you peel the tape? So when you are painting your own rooms and you want those nice, crisp, clean lines, and you go out there and you buy that painter's tape and you're going to tackle that first DIY project and you put the paint on the wall and you're like, I didn't realize maybe there's a time when I should pull that tape off. When do you peel the tape? That's question number one. The other one is, we're gonna have several. So you guys keep in mind, maybe there's one here that fits you. What is backer rod? And that's a builder question. Maybe you can figure that one out. All right. So, and then the last one we've got here, where do you never, ever caulk a window? Where do you never, ever caulk a window? So those are our questions. Call in now. The lines are open. Jack?
Yeah, well, thank you, Albert. Yeah, my name is Jack Keller. I own Legacy Painting. We're located right here in Yorktown, Virginia, over off Production. And we primarily do residential repaint projects as well as some commercial projects as well on the peninsula and south side. We service from about New Kent down to Virginia Beach. And we really just, try to emphasize that we try to provide just a stress-free, easy experience with a contractor for our clients that we work with. We do that by having a great team of in-house painters that are super respectful, take care of your home or your building where we're working at, and just clear communication. So let you know who's coming, when we're coming, when we start the project, we're on it till it's finished, weather permitting on exterior projects, but just try to make the whole process just as easy as possible and as enjoyable as possible as well. So I will pass it over to Noah, who's sitting in for Chuck Worley, who's our plumbing expert for the evening.
Thanks, man. My name is Noah. I've been with Worley's Home Services for a little over 5 years now. I've done everything from commercial plumbing to residential plumbing for toilets, showers, drains, water heaters, whatever you got. I can fix it, replace it, or look at it. You got any questions, give us a call.
757-627-7979. And let's talk a little bit about, Jack, go into that, your process for prepping and getting a house ready for, and we're talking about old work, getting it ready for a coat of paint, fresh coat of paint.
So we actually have a project coming up in a few weeks, and it's a home over in Yorktown. It hasn't been painted about 15 years. So there's some drywall, and they actually had some wallpaper that they removed themselves and had some contractors come and do it and kind of fell through and stuff like that. So super, super nice couple. And so kind of our process for, a project like that hasn't been painted in a while, has a bunch of prep work. The first thing is good to go through and take and cover everything that we can. Furniture, take everything off the walls, cover the floors, and just cover everything. There's a couple entrance ways through, like the kitchen, some areas that we're not painting. Since we're going to have a bunch of drywall work, we're going to cover those with plastic and tape, and that way there's none of that dust flying throughout the house as well. So once everything's prepped, we'll go through our guys will go through, skim coat some of the walls where that wallpaper was removed, fill nail holes, tape and mud, any of those stress cracks. And then once all that's sanded smooth, ready for a coat of primer, we'll put a good drywall PVA primer on all that. Once all that's dried, make sure all the dust and everything's off the walls. And that way, when you start putting paint on it, you don't have issues with texture and whatnot. So then once you put a fresh coat of paint on everything, make sure everything's clean. We'll do a light sand coat on everything to make sure just any dust, hair, fiber, stuff like that is off the walls. And then everything will get the finish coat. And then once all that's done, we'll do cleanup, final walkthrough with the customer, make sure everything's 100%. We didn't miss anything. And then we'll do cleanup and get out of there.
Question for you. So, you're coming into a house. You are not the first painter in the house, meaning it's been painted before. What kind of things set you apart that you see immediately when you walk into a house? I mean, you went through all that huge list of things that you do. Where do you see some of the most common, mistakes that, I don't want to say the DIYers, but somebody behind you that did the paint job, maybe it was 15 years ago or 5 years ago, or maybe it was even longer, but what kind of things do you have to combat? You're talking about hair and fiber and all these little things, man, what if the guy that was behind you didn't do those things? So maybe you could cover some of the common issues that people kind of take for granted and think, well, I can just paint this room in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, similar things to what you and Mike were talking about off the air about what makes a great builder a great builder. You have something, Mike?
Yeah, we got a caller in here I want to get to. Alan out at Buckrow Beach, and he's got a question about going under his house, which most people don't do in my experience. That's why people like Cindy make such a good fit, because most people are just afraid to go in there. What you got, Alan?
Hey, Alan.
Hey, it's a little mixed bag. I want to make it quick, and I'm going to take your comments off the air. But I just want to say that within the last 3 weeks here in the Hampton area, at least 3 times I have seen Worley vehicles going up and down the road. And, man, these vehicles are so nice looking. I mean, my grandpa used to say, clean vehicle, good-looking people, usually good work. Also, I was at a shopping center in Hampton, and there was a young guy that was going into a Burger King or something from a Worley truck, and he was a good-looking kid. He was dressed well. I just want to say, Worley's got it going on, man. They got nice-looking vehicles and nice-looking people. I mean, and I think that matters a lot in business. But let me get to this point here. Also, Worley's was at a home close to the Fox Hill area that I drove by twice, and they had at least a van and another vehicle there, and there was at least 2 individuals there, and they had these kind of paper jumpsuits on, and there were all these rolls that looked like foil, but they were big rolls, and I'm just curious, what were they doing? It looked like they were working under the house, and I'll take your comments off the air.
Sounds like they were placing the ductwork.
Space rockets. It was space rockets for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate on Chuck's behalf that kudos there. They've done work at my personal home as well. My wife always says, golly day is so great. They come in, they put booties on, they don't walk through the house. And even though their shoes may not be muddy because like on a job site, they always wear the booties because you pick up dirt that you just don't want to transmit through the customer's house. And in our particular case, we have a gas pack on the outside, and we got one unit up in the attic. And so the guy's got to come in. He's got to go up through the scuttle hole, and he comes in there and gets his job done, keeps it professionally clean behind himself. And you're right. That is a sign of quality company. And those trucks are striking. If you don't see one or two at least every day in your travels, you must be home, never getting out of the bed. That's all I got.
So on this whole thing with the suit and everything, there's two things. One is to keep we definitely want to keep the place clean, but also it keeps the worker clean. Cause I mean, there's some really nasty environments they have to work in. And so back to the foil. So typically what you're going to find is you've got to have hard duct in certain applications, and, Chuck would be able to speak to that, but I think it's on the intake. You have to have hard duct. You might even have to be required on your main trunk for your big duct.
Yeah.
So your main trunks are going to be wrapped with the foil faced insulation. When they're assembling the duct under the house, they possibly could pre-assemble some of those sections and join them together. And sometimes that just doesn't work out, and they just have to make their way under the house and do it that way. So most likely that was, like Noah said, was insulation. They were dragging it underneath the house or wherever to wrap those ducts. Don't forget to call in 757-627-7979. That's 627-7979. So
we got another person on coming on. Ronnie in Newport News is on the horn, and he's got a question about tankless or a gas water heater, and also tankless can be gas, just so you know, Ronnie. And Noah, what do you think, man?
I think that's a great caller. Go ahead and ask your question there, buddy.
We can't hear
Oh,
you.
we might, man.
Are you there,
Hey,
Ronnie?
can you hear me?
Hey, Ronnie.
Can you hear
There
me?
we go. All right.
Yeah, okay, buddy. Go ahead and ask your question
All right,
on the air here.
Couple questions. But I'll make it quick. One, I just purchased a new house from actually Chase Worley, grandparents, and I'm wondering if I should stick with gas water heater or go tankless, and if so, what brand? And then secondly, I have a sunroom that I think the windows on it might be leaking. For the window guy, is that something that you guys would be able to come out and like test to see what's leaking and give me a price on it, or how do I go about doing that?
Well, I'm going to let him answer the plumbing first.
So there, with that size of a home, because I've been to it, I would definitely shoot towards the tankless option for the efficiency and save you money long term. And I would go with the Navion. A big fan of Navion, the 240A series, which is the recirculating model. Great warranty, great product, and we haven't had any issues with them yet.
That particular brand that he mentioned, I first used in a 2008 Parade of Homes house, and the house had so many bathrooms, I had to have two of them. But those things will keep enough hot water. You could have the Board of Health coming to check you out, and you'd be totally clean because that thing keeps it hot. And back to your question about windows leaking. Are they wood windows? Are they vinyl windows? Aluminum windows?
No, so it's a sunroom, and it's got the real nice like glass windows that slide open, and then it's like a screened-in porch.
They
so
slide
it's a
sideways
slider.
or they slide?
Yeah, they slide sideways.
All right.
And I dropped a little bit of water on the ground, and I went to take my electric blower and kind of blow it to dry it up, and it seemed like water was coming out of the tracking on the bottom.
That is not uncommon. The slider window has a drain and a cavity that goes underneath the riding track that sash moves on top of. If the dirt gets in there and clogs up that drain port, water will sit there And especially you got your blower blowing and water sitting there, and the blower is going to blow water everywhere.
Is there a spot to look for a drain port on that window?
On the
Yeah,
bottom of the window should be a drain
Just
port.
a tiny
There's-
little sliver
yeah,
right at the
it's,
bottom.
What about 8 tall and maybe an inch wide
16
at the
maybe.
most?
Yeah, it's not gonna, it's not,
Not
very
very
big, but you know, I think Michael hit it right on the head. I'm not saying that you don't keep a well house, and this may not be the issue, but if you allow for pine needles or debris to build up in there, and it's going to clog that little spot, and it may be just even that you do clean and it's just that one spot is dirty. It's just going to build up. So I would look for those little, we call them weep holes. So
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm
I
sorry, we
just
didn't
bought
know
it,
what
and
you said.
it hasn't been had anyone living there in about a year and a half.
Okay.
Well, that's probably part of the issue, man. It's like anything in a house. You move in a house and think I don't have to do any maintenance or anything, and it's just one
Now,
of
I
those
think I could
things.
keep all y'all busy. I think I
Yeah.
can keep all y'all busy at my house for the next 2 years. But thank you again. Thank you again. Y'all are great. We love listening to you. And to the painter, if you could somehow get me your information, I need the house painted.
Yeah,
would be greatly appreciated
we
as
got
well.
your information, and he will be reaching out to you.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. The
Perfect.
one thing about a sunroom, and we do a lot of sunroom windows for different builders and what have you. You got to have a proper install. One of the ones, the categories I've used more than not has been I use a patio door frame. And because that has the stainless steel rollers on the bottom of it, it moves really easily. You can have big wall panels of glass that you can open and get air movement. First did that for a gentleman in Pocosin about 9 years ago, where we used that heavier frame door. And he was just so tickled with it. We started offering it to a lot of people, and a lot of people are taking us up on it. They like that easy movement of the door. They like to have bigger panels that are easy to move and not awkward. So, and they have excellent drainage as well. But the drainage, keep the drainage. It's keeping the track clean, like Alvin said, so that the dust doesn't build up in it.
So again, the number's 757-627-7979. And I'm going to go back over these questions. Maybe we've got some new callers in the air. And what is backer rod? When do you peel the tape? So when you're taping off and you're painting, what's the appropriate time for you to pull that tape off after you maybe painted you're trying to make a nice clean line? Did I say that right, Jack?
Yeah. I
Pretty
mean, you're
much,
trying to
yeah.
make just a clean, crisp line.
Yeah.
If someone's doing DIY,
Yeah.
if you don't have a ton of experience painting and you use some tape, which is not an issue at all, just at what point should you be peeling the tape off?
And then the last question is, where do you never, ever caulk a window? So please call in right now. So we were just to maybe go back to the question about windows and outside and leaks. We were kind of talking about some things in the we're talking shop in here before we got on the air. And one of the questions, or one of the things we were talking about, is seeing windows on brick installs. So Mike, tell us a little bit about what you see in that. But my understanding is we're all seeing some windows are caulked, some are not, in the brick installs. Tell me what you're seeing, and as a professional, what you do about it.
What we do and have done for some time, as we moved into the home replacement aspect of the business, a window frame is normally a certain depth. It's based on a 2x4 wall or a 2x6 wall, when 2x6s are becoming more common. But we hold that window out, the brick mold out, and all of the older houses that have wood windows, they have brick mold on them. We have an extruded brick mold that it becomes an integral part of the window frame itself. We set that up so that new brick mold overlaps the caulk line about 1/2 inch of the old caulk line. Most people don't maintain their caulk lines. They leave them to be able to get a little crack around the edge, which allows moisture to get in behind the brick in front of the sheathing. Can cause you a major problem if you don't take care of it. But we move that brick line or that brick mold line out, And then we have a little bit deeper sill on the inside by 1/2 inch. And then we have a nice smooth caulk line around that window, left, right, and top. You need to be sure that those 3 sides are caulked to seal the window so you don't get moisture in behind it. Moisture, as Chuck says, is not your friend. In your crawl space, it's not. In your attic, it's not. We have, in the 52 years I've been building houses, we have a situation where we have to calculate crawl space air movement and attic air movement. And that's to make sure that we're getting the movement to get the moisture out and keep from causing a problem. Chuck helps resolve that problem in his crawl space encapsulation, which I had done in my house about 6 years ago. And you go in, we took out all the old insulation that had been there for, I've been in that house 40 years. Very unusual builder, but I love the location. But so we go in and we take everything out, and they put in a heavy layer of plastic. No, do you know how thick that is?
Usually between 12 and 20 mil. It really depends. It really depends on, which options they pick in that. So yeah, I mean, they probably have a baseline that they shoot for, but as a builder, the base, the very bottom is 6 mil poly.
Yeah.
And so
it lasts for the first guy that crawls.
Yeah, you're only going to get about 6 to 7 years out of that. Maybe a little longer, but it's going to start to deteriorate
It's not a good deal even when it's new. Yeah. But they take that plastic and they wrap it around the piers, each one. They tape it off. They turn it up the wall, and they leave about a 3-inch inspection slip around the top. And that is so that we can have inspections done. Thanks, Alvin. Have inspections done by the termite guy, and that's something that Cindy does. And so, but you got to leave that inspection strip up there. You do not want to let them termites hide behind something so they can get into your structure. And because by the time you figure out what's going on, I have had friends that didn't take care of business. And, we're not talking a few $100s. We're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of repairs. I'm sure Alvin has fixed a lot of houses that had that kind of problem.
Yeah, we had one house we recently did. We replaced, or should I say, we sistered next to 40 joists under a house. It was, the house. I mean, you could literally... I did not take a screwdriver under the house, but I found like a loose nail under the house. And I was like, okay, well, let me just try the old test here. So I took the nail in my bare hand, and I was able to just push the nail straight through the joist without much effort. And I was like, this floor is going to collapse any moment now. So
the one thing I will mention to you that people, when they convert their screen porches into 3-season rooms or sunrooms, and the codes change. You have to have heat in there. You don't have to have AC, but you got to have heat. The second thing is on the corners of the porch, because you're enclosing and making it have a solid wall. You have time. Well, I tell you what, we're getting ready to go to a break. We'll pick this up on the other
question.
side.
I definitely want to pick that up afterwards.
757-627-7979. Okay, people, Hampton Roads, this is the 757 House Whisperer Show coming back to you. I hope you all are having a great evening. Brought to you by Worley's Home Services. They do plumbing, heating, electrical, crawl space encapsulation. They do insulation and foam insulation. My name is Michael Davenport. I'm here tonight on behalf of my partner, myself, Barry Taylor. We're CVP Windows and Doors. We are the only, and I do mean the only, window manufacturer in the Hampton Roads region. We can do anything window-wise, and we will even let you come to our plant to take a look at it. And it's local, so you're not having to drive somewhere out of state to go see it. And I'm going to turn it over to Albin right now, and he's going to bring part of it in.
Yeah, so my name is Albin with Albin Co. We specialize in remodels, kitchens, baths, decks, additions, that kind of thing. And we really enjoy doing that. So, so we got Cindy with Alpha Pest Solutions. She's not here tonight, but she takes care of all your critter getter stuff. It could be large pests or small pests or even insects or mold and mildew and that kind of stuff. She takes care of that. She can come in, analyze the situation, and tell you what kind of actions need to be taken. Before we move on to the next person, we'd like to remind you guys to give us a call, 757-627-7979. That's 627-7979. You can also call the hotline if you do not want to be on the air, which is 757-955-9415. That's 955-9415. You can call in or text there anytime, and we will get back to you. The questions we had today, when do you peel the tape? And then we had, what is backer rod? And then the last thing is, where do you never, ever caulk a window? If you can, see if you can call in, try your luck at one of those questions.
Yeah, well, thank you, Albin. My name is Jack Keller on Legacy Painting. We're located right here in Yorktown, Virginia, over off Production Drive. And we primarily do residential and commercial repaints. We do some new construction painting as well. But really where we excel at and do a ton of work is those residential commercial repaints. We service from New Kent down to Virginia Beach. And we really just try to emphasize that and take care of the clients we work with and provide a stress-free, easy experience with the contractor. We do that by having great communication to let you know who's coming, when we're coming, and having a great team of in-house painters who are going to be respectful, communicate well, and deliver a great service. And so we also have Noah, who's with us tonight, sitting in for Chuck, who's our plumbing expert tonight.
Hey, it's Noah. I'm with Worley's Home Services. Been with Worley's for a little over 6 years now. I've done everything plumbing from commercial to residential. If it's got water or a drain going to it, I can answer any question you got. Water heaters, showers, toilets, anything you got, give us a call in and shoot away.
We were in the middle of talking about sunrooms before we went to break, and we're going to pick up on some of that. Albin and I have done a lot of that work, but you got to be careful when you get a sunroom enclosed from a screen porch, because you have something that's called a brace wall panel that's got to be designed into that to be sure that structurally you're doing what you need to do. It is nice to have it enclosed in glass. You get total use out of it. Some people even go with a mini split and installed by Worley's to make it totally. I know I built one that was 14 by 20 on the back of a house over there in Smithfield about 10 years ago. And they put a mini split in that. It was great. He liked it a little cooler. He liked it a little warmer. She would go out there and do her reading and what have you. And then he would be inside watching the rifleman. Ain't that right, John? But no, you can get all of that done and have a much more enjoyable space. And what are your thoughts, Albin?
So, yeah, you're going to run into a lot of code issues, and one is, like he said, is wind. So there are ways to circumvent that. There's some products on the line right now that you can buy that would allow you to get the feel of a closed-in 3-season room. The windows would open, if there was wind pressure there, or you can move them all the way out of the way. But you still got to be careful with that, because if you make a true conversion to a 3-seasons room, you're subject to a lot of different codes. For instance, if the room is not closed in and you step from your house to that room, but they kind of treat it as like a landing or something like that. You go and close it in. Well, now it's it's an extension of the house. Now, when you step out of the sunroom, that step from that doorway has to have a 3x3 platform on the outside in order for it to be legit code wise. So you can't just convert it to a 3 seasons room, put a door on it and call it good, because now when you open that door, one, you never want to open a door over stairways. So you would want to open that in. It used to be that they would allow you to open the door in, you can step down the stairs. Now it's like, if you have a door outside, you will have a landing either regardless, whether you swing it in or out. You got to have a minimum 3x3 landing there. That could prevent you from changing it into a 3 season room if that porch swings out to let's say a very small wooden deck and you don't have room for that 3x3 platform. So there may be some other ways you can work around that, but again, there's a lot of code issues. Wind is one of the bigger ones because you're closing in this thing that wind used to move freely through the room, and that just causes problems. But it looks to me like we have a caller.
Yep. Rich, Virginia Beach. Rich, why don't you go ahead and go through your question there, buddy?
Hey, Rich.
How you doing? So I have a vent pipe that's running from from above the ceiling to the crawl space, right? It's a sewer vent pipe. And when I moved in the house, while I was running some cables for some speaker wires, I was drilling through like the edge of a stud next to a receptacle and the edge of a stud next to a countertop. And in one of those two places, I drilled a hole through the, I don't know if I drilled straight through or through the side of that vent pipe. So now, there's no water so much to say, but there's vapors from the sewer line under the floor. And times, whatever atmospheric conditions there are times when it smells very clearly that you have some kind of sewer gas type leak in that vicinity, but it's inside of a wall. So my question for you is do you guys have a way that you could seal a pipe, by pouring something down it or running
Sorry
a scope
that happened
from the
to you, Rick.
seal? What's that?
Sorry that happened to you.
Go ahead, Noah. What do you
I got myself to thank for that, but thank you.
The biggest question of that issue that you're bringing is how many times do you want to repair it? If you want to try to pour it down a drain to fix it, I'll see you in a month to repair it again. The best thing to do, unfortunately, because I can see you don't want to cut the wall, make the small cut, make the small repair properly, and then we can put some drywall back.
Well, from a DIYer's perspective, we understand you want to try to do it without doing the drywall. But from the professional's standpoint, that small little cut in the drywall and making a proper repair is not that big of a deal for us. We do that all the time for situations like that. And obviously we can make the wall look like there was no patch there. There's plenty of techniques there that can be done. And then you just paint the wall corner to corner, floor to ceiling, you're done.
There's actually some great YouTube videos showing you a couple of different methods that you can do a wall repair. But the main thing is you don't want that methane to continue to leak into your home, because you're right. It will find its way into the room.
Is there a way to locate where it is? Because like I said, there's 2 points that I drilled. So it's like it could be knee high or it could be shoulder high. And it's like, I know if I guess, I'll guess wrong the first time.
Well, if you were both holes right above each other, are you saying one was kind of off one way and one was off the other way?
Oh no, they were both. I was running a cable from the crawl space to a countertop, and so I drilled through this down. I took out a receptacle and drilled from the stud down inside the wall into the crawl space, and then when I fished the wire up there, I had to go to one to the left past a stud that receptacle was attached to. So I drilled through that stud, and then I had to go up and drill back through the stud to get out to the countertop above.
Well, I would say this. You may assume that you did one hole.
Yeah.
But you may be making the wrong assumption that it's one hole. You may actually have drilled it twice. So
what is there a way to figure out where that is? Because I had thought about going on the roof, like maybe with an air compressor and blowing some air in there, and then just having somebody listen at the wall, because it would probably whistle out the hole.
Well, I mean, a vent pipe is gonna either start at the crawl and go all the way up, or it couldn't it start just a little bit, maybe 2-3 feet above the wall, depending on where it is in relation to how close is this to a sink. Because I mean, Noah's he's probably doing math in his head right now, how far it's going to be from the sink and all that stuff.
If your question was if there's a way to properly execute a way to find where the leaks are, so we're not coming back to repair multiple, we do offer smoke test. So we'll pump smoke into your sewer lines, and we can cut a small hole into your wall. If we see smoke pouring out into your wall, we obviously know there's more than one leak. If that's your answer, that's a for sure way we can find where these holes are at.
Yeah. So the other thing is again, if it's in close proximity to a sink, then no one knows, how far that vent stack can be from the sink.
5 feet.
By code, 5 feet. So it's got to be within 5 feet. It could be that it comes, the sink drains, goes sideways after the trap, and then all of a sudden it's going to be connected to a vent stack. Wouldn't the vent stack always go to the crawl? Or not?
Yeah. Well,
the vent stack was
because it's connected in probably the whole system, right?
If it's wet vented, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna go to the crawl technically at all times, because if you have a vent going up and the drain's coming over.
Right. So it's always going to go to the crawl. So it's difficult for me to imagine that you have two holes that you drilled and you missed it once and they're both in line. So I just can't see that. The downside is if it's a large vent and it's an interior wall and it's a 3.5-inch wall, meaning it's a 2x4, there are certain conditions where you have a vent stack that takes up almost the entire space, and then cutting the pipe and putting a coupling on it is not an option because it won't fit in that cavity. Correct me if I'm wrong, Noah.
You're correct.
Yeah. So the repair job might be a little more complex than just, pulling it off, putting a coupling in.
Okay.
very true.
But the first question, you do not offer a pour-in type of pipe lining repair, right?
No, sir.
So you guys just don't do
that type of repair is only temporary. That's for a vent stack. I wouldn't recommend it because you're just pouring straight down. So that would be doing the pipe. Doing that would be more invasive on your house than actually just making that small cut and repairing what you've already done.
I don't know that we answered your question about how we would attack this, but I would go into the crawl space. I would find that vent stack. Then I would have somebody tap on the floor or try to orient myself under the crawl space and say, okay, I know where the vent stack's coming up into the wall now. I can visually see where the water lines are coming into my sink. I might pull a measurement from the water lines to the vent stack, come upstairs, find those same water lines coming up underneath the sink and measure over. And I could pinpoint that. I could check for the stud spacing, find the stud, say, okay, I'm between these two cavities. And then without a shadow of a doubt, you could also go in the attic and find that same vent stack coming through your attic. And it's it's literally, there's spots where you can find this and trace it from the crawl to the attic. If you're wanting to try to tackle this completely by yourself, that's how I would try to find that thing, to only cut one hole. But the problem is, if you're going to cut one hole, you still got to paint the wall. So why not just open it up, make a for sure repair to that whole area and paint the wall once. So that's kind of how I would have attacked that. So,
okay.
Rich, thanks so much for calling in.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
So, that was pretty pretty good question. We probably
Yeah.
have a lot of people run up against that. Unfortunately, or should I say, fortunately, in his case, it was a vent stack. Sometimes it's not a vent stack.
No,
it's a water line.
A wet line.
Gas
It's a
line.
wet line, a gas line, or
Freon.
even a air conditioning high pressure
HVAC,
line.
yeah.
So one of the first houses I built, actually, I remember we framed the house up. We had everything run. The AC guys ran all their high pressure lines in the walls, and we sheathed the wall. We put the siding on the walls. And as the siding guys were running their siding on the outside of the wall, they were using some pretty long nails. And that nail went straight through the siding, through the sheathing, right into the high pressure line. We called for the CO, and or they did their they started the unit up or something, and it's like, it's hot. We can't get any cold air. And sure enough, they went out there and figured out where it was. So we had to open up the wall, rerun the high pressure lines. And so, yeah, it was an unfortunate thing, but it's things that happen, So
When you've been in the business as long as Alvin and I have, you run across things that you sometimes question, how in the world did that happen? But it's just human nature and attention to detail.
yeah, a funny one that I've run across several times, actually, I think twice now, is I was doing shelving in a house. We were working in a house, and we were basically just tasked out to build out all the closets, and went in, used the bathroom, flushed the toilet. Noah, guess what I heard come on?
What?
The Renai system in the garage. So I was like, why?
That's hot water.
Why would the Renai come on when you flush the toilet? So I had to convince the builder. I was like, I talked to the homeowner. I said, look, I don't want to diss on the builder. The toilet flushes, the Renai comes on. And the guy was hollering at me and yelling at me on the phone. I'm like, look, dude, all I can say is you push that handle and the Renai comes on. So the plumbers came in and they were like, oh yeah, sure enough. So they had to go in there and, just swap two lines. It's nothing. I mean, it's a simple mistake. But it requires a little detail to miss those things. But in this case, it was like, those are the details us as builders, we kind of notice them. It's like, hey, when I do this happens. Like, that's not supposed to happen.
I went to a certain, not going to name drop, certain school's living area, and they installed, I think it was 14 125-gallon water heaters, all power vents, which are about
Wow, that's big bucks.
20,000 a pop. And they didn't put any type of ventilation on the doors or in the room. So 2 years later, and there's mold growing on the water heaters, and fungus is growing on the nipples coming out of the water heater. So now 3 years later, they got to replace 12 water heaters.
Oh my gosh.
So, and it's the things that happen that make us crazy, because we cover pretty much of those things in our because of our experience, and we know what to look for. But when you see something like that where just waste has occurred, it's just horrible. It really gets us.
Yeah, there were mushrooms growing on the pipe.
Oh my gosh.
I have a picture of it.
So look, we're
man.
about nearing the end of the show. We probably should let everybody know what these questions are all about. So, Jack, why don't you quickly? We think we got about 3 minutes, so maybe a minute a piece of these. What about the tape? Talk about, when do you peel the tape?
Yeah. So for the tape, painter's tape, if you are using tape, if you're using on your baseboards, if you're putting different type of painting lines on your wall, you want to make sure you peel the tape up before the caulk dries. That way it gives you a nice, clean, crisp line. You don't have any bleed through, and you don't have any squiggly lines with the caulk all drying and being partially wet, partially dry. So just make sure as soon as you paint it and the caulk is still wet, you peel
Does
up
the caulk, does the tape give you freedom to be sloppy when you're cutting that in?
I mean, you still want to be careful, because depending on the type of tape you have, the paint could still bleed through if you're not using the right tape. So you want to be as
Just a
close
little tip there.
Yep. Yeah. You want to use as little as paint as possible and go over the line as little as possible. But you want to make sure
Doesn't
the
give you
caulking
the carte blanche freedom to just
Right.
like go crazy.
Yeah. You
It's
still
gonna
wanna
make
use,
you
you
could
know-
still end up with a mess on your hands.
Absolutely.
So, so there's a twofold question here, and I think Michael can cover both of them at the same time. When do you never ever caulk a window, and tie in backer rod and what you would use it for?
Never caulk across the bottom of the sill when you're putting and the windows in or you're putting a new window in. You want to have a water, if any moisture gets in behind the window in the wall, you want to have a way for it to escape. You always go around the perimeter of the window. You can use backer rod if your guy's got too big a gap. He's not custom making the window to fit
This
the
is for
opening you
brick?
have. You put the
Mostly for
backer
brick?
rod in, and then you caulk to the backer rod. And those are two simple things. If your guy
What
doesn't,
is backer rod? 'Cause
backer
we
rod
still didn't really
is
say
a
what it
product.
is.
It's kind of a spongy product that can push into the groove, and they come in different sizes. I mean, they come in a minute size to one that's pretty healthy.
A good word picture for that is like a micro pool noodle.
It looks like I was getting ready to say the same thing. It looks like a pool neuter. And so we want to be sure that we get the right one. We're getting ready to go in 1 minute. Noah, say who you are and what you got going.
Noah with Worley's, plumbing, service, residential, commercial, whatever you got, I can do it.
Okay.
And my name is Jack Keller. I'm with Legacy Painting. We do residential, commercial, and service from about New Kent down to Virginia Beach.
Hey, I am Albin with Albin Co. We'd like to do your next bath or kitchen remodel.
And you got
And
Cindy. If you got a bug problem, she's going to be the one to answer that. And I am Michael Davenport. I'm with CVP Windows and Doors. My partner and I, Barry Taylor, have been servicing the Hampton Roads community for going on 25 years now. So we look forward to you getting the call. Remember, you can call also on the hotline, 757-955-9415. That's 955-9415. And this has been the 757 House Whisperer Show. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We will see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
The preceding program was sponsored and paid for by Worley Home Services, who's entirely responsible for its content.